Now, I'll give you an idea on how these sparring sessions work. So we do them every week. And essentially the schedule which we have is Mondays, we do FAR. Audit is done on Tuesdays. Reg is done on Wednesdays and DC on Thursdays. Now, we do a detailed walkthrough of concept for each and every particular topic. Then we do, so let's just say we'll have these Excels. These Excels and the lecture recordings would be uploaded to you by the next day morning. These Excels are there. We'll do a detailed walkthrough of the concept in the Excel. Then we'll go over and do the questions in the same. Now, for any topic which you think you need to get an understanding on, we have already covered all the topics and replays are out there. Currently, we are doing a rerun of the topics. If you want to know when a particular topic would be covered in the live session, you go to the sparring schedule. Again, the sparring schedule will tell you what is the schedule and which they will be covering which topic. So this is the audit schedule. Now, if you look at the schedule, currently we have done professional standards. The standards which applies on auditor, standards of responsibility, which applies on us is completed. So we know what standards we need to comply with. We know what needs to be done from our end that has been done. So what are the rules and responsibility that applies on us? We have studied that. After that, we discussed planning the engagement, or let's say accepting the engagement and planning it. We have done that as well. So we have accepted the engagement. We have done the planning. That has been done as well. Post that, we studied, okay, hey, what are internal controls? What is an internal control framework? How does it impact our audit? We discussed various operating cycles and understood internal control testing over them. And if there are any internal control deficiencies and communications regarding the same has also been discussed. Now, based on the results of our internal control testing, we will decide what substantive, the nature, extent, and timing of substantive procedures. And that's what we'll be discussing over the next 4 or 5 sessions. So are you clear with the complete audit flow or audit cycle? It's very, very important to stay in track with that. Yes, no, maybe. Hands on the keyboard if you could just respond to that. And like I mentioned, today's session and the internal control, very, very important. And specifically today's session, because today we'll be laying the foundation for substantive procedures. We'll understand the reason behind each and every procedure, and then we'll be applying it. So let's just say if you see the schedule now, substantive procedures are the next 5 sessions. But all the 5 sessions are important, but today's session is particularly of more importance is because today we'll be laying the groundwork on what assertions are, what kind of evidence we need, what kind of procedures we do, and why we do them. And next 4 sessions, we'll be learning when do we use those procedures and be applying it. So today we'll be answering why and what. And over the next 4 sessions, we'll be answering when to use those procedures. So I hope you understand today's session is foundational, and substantive procedures is the majority of the audit, and a lot of questions in the exam from this topic. So very, very important that you understand this very clearly so that you can be clear with the next 4 sessions as well and the entirety of substantive procedures. So today, after today's session, you should understand, okay, which substantive procedure I'll be performing when, what would be the population, where do we start a substantive test? All of this should be able to answer after today's session. Does it make sense? Okay, now, why do we do audit? First question, let's answer, okay? And I want all of you to keep on answering so that I make sure you understand this. Why do we conduct an audit? Now, I agree with the answer which says to provide an opinion. Provide an opinion on financial statements. That's our objective as an auditor. We need to give an opinion on the financial statements. We are required to give an opinion. Whether the financial statements, what is the opinion? Whether the financial statements are materially stated or not. So we have to give this opinion. Do we all agree? Everyone, make sure very quick on the keyboard and don't think of anything. Just try to understand the concept and hand. Now, how do we give this opinion, right? How do we give this opinion? Do we just say what we feel like? Or there has to be some basis for our opinion? When you're giving an opinion for something, there has to be some basis, right? If an opinion is a conclusion in matter, right? In aspect, in some regards, it's equivalent to a conclusion. So if you're giving an opinion, there has to be some basis. What is that basis of your opinion? What becomes the basis of that opinion? Findings, evidence, the result of the procedures, no, not the accounting principles, Simon. I think we'll have to discuss on that. The basis of your opinion is audit evidence. Based on the evidence you collect, you can say whether the financial statements are materially misstated or not. So how do you give your opinion? Based on the evidence. Now, how do you collect your audit evidence? Audit procedures. The way we collect our audit evidence is by conducting or performing audit procedures. And what are these audit procedures? There are two types of audit procedures we perform. We perform test of control, which we have already discussed in internal control topic, and we perform test of detail. Under test of detail, we have substantive procedures and substantive analytical procedures. Now, we conduct our test of controls if again, and this is again, we'll go back to the audit risk model for the people who have been joining regularly or watching the replays. We'll go back to the audit risk model. If again, controls are operating effectively, that means control risk is low. If the control risk is low, we can afford detection risk to be high. Detection risk can be high. We can afford a higher detection risk. If we can afford a higher detection risk, we can reduce the nature, extent, and timing of substantive procedures. If controls are not operating effectively, that means control risk is high. That's what it implies. If the control risk is high, detection risk can be low. We'll want a detection risk to be low. If we want detection risk to be low, how do we make sure that we don't miss out on any errors? We increase the nature, extent, and timing of substantive procedures. That was the audit risk model. Based on our test of control, we decide